Tonight, we're going to talk about the Fanatically Real Redraft rules and membership. We are doing early recruiting for the APBL for 2024, and we have to say goodbye to a dear former sponsor. All of this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, the official apparel of the FSA. And I know it's been a while since we've said that. I think if the calendar serves me right, it's been about 2 months since we've been live, and we do apologize for that. But as we are getting closer to the start of the NFL season, we thought it was only right, only appropriate that we get our show started up again and give us something to talk about. So we are 15 days away from the NFL kicking off their preseason schedule. They will have the Hall of Fame game on the 3rd of August, and that'll be between the Browns and the Jets. I know Jason had once asked me sometime last year if I was going to come up to Ohio and watch that game with him or not, but don't think we're going to be able to make that happen this year. But one of these days we are going to absolutely watch a game one Hall of Fame game to open up the preseason for the NFL. But because we are so close to the start of the NFL season, and because we are that much closer to the start of the season for fantasy football, we thought we would go over the rules for the redraft for this year. Before we go over the rules, though, let's skip a little bit further ahead and let's talk about membership so everybody knows where we stand on membership before we talk about the rules. So this year's season, we are going to play with 72 teams. That is going to be 6 regions of 12 teams each. As of this moment, as we went live 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago, we have 66 members spoken for. We are still waiting on information from 2 more people to make that 66. We're waiting on information from one guy from the transfer of people over from the Meathead League. And then Carl is also working on trying to get us 1 more team as well. We just need to get their contact information so we can get them signed up. With that 66 members, that means we only have 6 spots remaining. It is going to be first come, first serve at this point, because I think we have the feelers out there for about 14 people right now. So if you want to get in, make sure you get in now. Send us your information. I need first and last name. I need a good email address to send to you for both payment and to sign you up for MFL, My Fantasy League, and then where you live. That way we can get you in the correct region of the 6 that we're going to have for this year. Right now, I think League Safe says that the payment is going to come sometime in September, which is actually after the season starts. So what we're going to do, I wanted to put it out there on the show tonight so it doesn't surprise anybody before I do it tomorrow. We are going to change the sign up for the membership to sign up to make sure that you're paid on 12 August. Why 12 August? So we're going to get to that in just a second when it comes along with the rules. So first off, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure for those who have never seen the website before, they got a chance to look at the My Fantasy League website. So this is what it looks like for those in the Fanatically Real Redraft. So what you're going to see is you're going to see the schedule across the top. The schedule is generated by MFL. It's a cool little widget that we've added to the website. You're going to see some logos that are on there, and you're going to see things like this that are some teams that are on bye, and there's a reason for that. We have an odd number of teams right now because we're still waiting on that final 6 members to get us to 72. And some of these members that you're going to see on there haven't committed yet. You're going to see them in a particular region here a little bit lower down that says non-verbal commitments yet. If you have a verbal commitment in, you will see yourself inside a region. Doesn't mean you've necessarily paid yet. I've got that on a completely separate tracker, but at least I know that you are verbally committed for the year. So this is the website. It's probably going to take a couple of shows to go over, especially for those that are new to MFL, those that are coming over to us from the Meathead League, which is part of this East Canada Banshee region right here, for you all to get used to using this, because we've been using NFL.com for as long as Matt's been running that league. So now we are over to MFL for you all. It's going to take a little bit of learning. I wanted you all to see it here because the majority of you are going to probably download the app and use that instead, and you're never going to see the website in its glory and what it looks like here. So what we've got right now is we've got each one of the members that are verbally committed for the 2023 season broken down into the region. What does that mean? The region means where they actually live. I wish I could pull the map up for you real quick, but it'd take a whole lot of screens for me to go to, and I probably should have had it already pulled up. But for those of you that play in FSA, you know what the regions are. So everybody's broken down in a geographical region based on where they actually live. That way, in future years, we can do things like live draft parties and mid-season parties, and then we can do postseason get-togethers with banquets and stuff like that. A couple of the teams already here in the East Canada Banshees already have logos. They already have team names that were put in there. If you only see a person's name in there, that means we are still working on their logo and or team name for them. As we go down, we got the Appalachia Black Bears. We got the South Atlantic Dragons. We have the Great Lake Hydras. We've got the Mid-Atlantic Krakens. We got the West Canada Lynx. We got the Central Nightmares, the New England Phoenix, the Southwest Scorpions. Here's our non-verbal list right here. These are the remaining people that we're still waiting to hear whether they're going to come back for the year or not. And then we got the one Pack South Wild Boars down here and Jason Trumpley. So what's going to happen is as we get closer to the season and we've got everybody signed up for the 72 people, as you can see, we've got like 10 or 11 regions right now. We were going to break those people down into 6 regions. Some of those people are going to move. The smaller regions that are close to a region that has more people are going to get absorbed, and then they will fall into that bigger region, and still with the whole purpose of making sure that everybody is inside or in a bubble that is close to where they actually live. So now that you know what that is, what we want to do is be able to take you to this rules link that's right here in the middle. And I hope you all can see this at home right now. So click on the rules link. This is going to take you to the rules page and everything that you need to know about FSA Redraft for 2023. So the first thing you need to know is the overview, which we just talked about. The FSA is actually spanned across 16 different regions. There are 14 in North America, and then we also have one in Asia and one in the Europe region. And then people will be put into a region based on where they are geographically located. Also, it says up here in the overview that the regular season will be played from weeks 1 through 11, and then we will start the playoffs from there. Broken down a little bit more in there, but if you want to be able to read it in a little bit more detail, you can go to the rules link here on the MFL page. Draft. Let's talk about the draft for a second. So the draft kind of happens in 2 parts. First, we have the draft selection day. This is the thing that we do live on the internet where we tell everybody where they're going to be drafting in positions 1 through 12 inside the region. Some of you who have been around for a little bit have seen this before. This is where we do the electronic dice that's on the screen. Everybody loves for me to get snake eyes because we have to start completely over for that. That is all happening on the 13th of August. That is all regions are going to happen on that day. You can see the time breakdown is every 2 hours. We've got 10 East Coast time and then noon, 2, 4, 6, 8, also East Coast time. We don't know which regions are going to pick in what spots yet. I want to try to follow the same pattern that we're going to have for the draft. But we are still trying to fill the regions before we decide when we are actually going to put people in draft slots, which is what you're going to see right below this. So the draft will take place on My Fantasy League, and it will take place over 2 days. It is either going to be the 19th of August, which is a Saturday, or it's going to be the 20th of August, which is a Sunday. As you can see on both days, the draft times are going to be 1, 4, and 7 East Coast time. And as we fill up all of these regions and we start breaking the smaller regions into the bigger regions, start getting everything into the 6 regions that are going to play, this will come into more. This will have more of an effect on everybody. So we will be asking the teams that are inside that region where they would like to draft. Going to try to get this out sooner than later because I know it always seems like last minute as we're throwing this out there, and I hate that people miss their draft or it doesn't coincide with something inside their plans or something like that. What we did end up doing is moving the draft selection show and the drafts back 1 week to the left. And then what we normally do, normally we do it the weekend before Labor Day weekend, but we wanted to do it even a weekend prior to that for the drafts. And there's a very important reason for that, which we will get to here shortly. Roster requirements are going to have 20 players on it. That is one rule that is probably going to be talked about a little bit here in the next day or so as I get Matt Kroll back online. There have been a couple of people that have come online and said that they don't think with the way that the lineups are going to go this year that 20 players is quite enough, especially with the bye weeks this year. So there's a possibility that that might increase 2, 4, 6 players. We don't know yet. We will get back to you as soon as we know that. But as of right now, your roster will be 20 players. Your starting lineup requirements. So this is a super flex league. If you've never played in a super flex league before, this means you can start 2 quarterbacks as one of your super flex players. So you will start a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, what we call around here a major flex, which is your running back, wide receiver, tight end position, and then a super flex, which is all positions. So those that are moving over here from the Meathead League, this is new to you. Some of you play in multiple leagues, so Superflex maybe is not a new thing to you, but it will be new to you as you're moving over away from Matt's League this year. We will also start 1 kicker. So what we are doing this year for the first, well, maybe the second time in our history, but the first time in a really long time, we are going to do individual defensive players in your starting lineup. So what we are doing this year is it's going to be 7 offensive players, 7 defensive players, and 1 kicker. So it's 7, 7, and 1. So you're going to start 15 players, which is why we're thinking about moving the roster or expanding the roster slightly because right now it's only at 20. But what you will start will be 20 or 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 defensive backs, and then 1 flex player, which can be a defensive lineman, a linebacker, or a D-back. So that will be your lineup for the year. Scoring, which I know there's a couple of people out there watching right now. Eric actually says, agreed, more roster spots. He was actually the first person to come to me and said, hey, maybe we need a little bit more roster spots. And I heard you, and I agree with you, and I think we might add a little bit more. The whole reason to keep in the small roster spots was to promote waiver wire activity, which was a huge thing in Matt's League when we're trying to move the Meathead people over. In Matt's League, we started 13 and only had 16 roster spots. A little bit different makeup because we are drafting from a pool of 12 players versus a pool of 20 players. But I also know that as we get into bye weeks, that is going to be a huge deal. So I think we might expand that out a couple more spots. But I still want to keep them kind of trim, kind of slim, because it will promote waiver wire moves, which will also promote people paying attention to the league. So we don't get those people that are just start it, kind of like hit it and quit it type thing. It says maybe drop kickers to lower necessary roster spots. Okay, might be able to do that as well. So scoring, this is one of the things that I know a couple of people were very interested in what we were going to do for defensive scoring for the year. So for those of you that have played with us for a couple of years, you're not going to see any difference in the offensive scoring. Those that are playing in the dynasty with us right now, I do believe that we still have our passing touchdowns set at 6. And because we are doing a super flex in this one, we are dropping our passing touchdowns to 4 with our interceptions at -2. So I'd have to look back at 2022, to be honest with you, to see if that's how we had it set up in the redraft before. But I know that is different than the dynasty. And that's where my brain is at right now. So for the passing side, know that we are doing 4 for every touchdown and -2 for every interception thrown by the quarterback or any position that it decides to throw the ball. We are still doing a 0.5 point for rushing first down, 0.5 point for receiving first down. We are also giving a point for each reception. This is not a tight end premium league, so we are going to give a point for each reception for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So everybody gets 1 point, same across the board, no tight end premium. A little bit different for those that are moving over from Matt's league that are not used to this from a field goal standpoint, you get a point for every extra point, and for any field goal that is 1 through 30 yards, that is worth 3 points. For every yard past 30, it is 0.1 points, meaning if you kick a 39-yard field goal, it is worth 3.9 points. If you kick a 42-yard field goal, it is 4.2 points, and so on and so forth. You will get a negative point for every missed field goal, except for field goals over 50 yards. You will not get a missed point for. Now, here's the part that everybody wants to ask about, the individual defensive players. So here's what we've got right now. And I know there was a possible scoring change that was brought up. I think, Eric, you actually brought this up the other day as well. We looked through it in the MFL. I'm not sure that it's possible what we want to do with that. I'm not even going to bring it up. Probably shouldn't have even said that much because people are going to be like, well, what was that thing that they were thinking about adding? So here is, at least in black and white for now, the IDP point system. You're going to get a half a point for every assisted tackle. You're going to get a point for every tackle. You're going to get a point for every pass defended. You're going to get 2 points for every sack, 2 points for every interception, 2 points for every fumble recovery, 2 points for every safety, 3 points for every blocked field goal, PAT, or punt. And I'm not sure why that extra N is in there. I'm glad we're going over this now. I will take that out. And then 6 points for every touchdown, whether that's on an interception, fumble recovery, or blocked kick. So 6 points for that. So Matt Furby, you may be out there watching this right now. If you are and you had questions about that, hit me up here. That way it is on record that you asked that question. That way we can go and address it at a later point. For those that have played IDPs before, that's a very good question. So as I was going through this with Eric the other day, and we were trying to figure out how we can get points for this is what we were trying to do. We were trying to figure out if there was a way to give points to the person who actually caused the fumble, but only if then it was picked up by the defense. And it does not look like MFL does that. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. It does not look like MFL allows us to give 2 points for the actual fumble if the other team, or if the defense is the one that gets it. It allows you to get points for just a fumble, and it allows you to get points for a fumbled recovery, but it does not allow you to get points for a fumble as long as the defense is the one that picks it up. Now, I do have a feeler out to MFL. They're usually pretty good about getting back to us in 48 hours, so we'll find out if that actually – there you go. A forced fumble, but only a forced fumble as long as the defense picks it up. That's what we were looking for, right? Because if it's a forced fumble and the offense picks it back up, who cares? Right? Nothing really happens except for maybe there's a little bit loss in yards. But if it's a forced fumble with a turnover, we want the player who forced the fumble, which could be different than the person who actually picks the ball up, to get points for it as well. But I don't know that MFL does that. If they do, I like the rule so much because it was brought up that we're going to add it. All right, just so everybody knows, that will be added to it as well if they come back for it. So Matt asks, when are we going to see the D players show up on the MFL site? Very good point. As we were going through to look to see if that scoring category was there, I did not realize that I had not set up MFL yet to accept individual defensive players. So as always, I wanted to make sure that I announce it on air first before I do it. That way everybody doesn't think I'm just arbitrarily changing things. So tomorrow I will be going in and making sure that our rosters have the individual defensive players on there, and you should be able to start seeing those show up on your blocks for your rosters. Waiver wire, no different on waiver wire than what we normally do. Waiver wires are going to run every Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the morning. It is going to be a season-long rolling list. First week will be in reverse order of the first round of the draft. So if you picked number 1, you will be number 12 in the waiver wire come week 1, and so on and so forth. 2 will be 11, 3 will be 10, and so on and so forth. And it's rolling. As you use your waiver wire, you will drop to the bottom of that waiver wire rolling list. The big thing that is going to be a change for this year, and I know it's been a little bit of a point of contention for a few people, but I think we've won the majority of everybody over, is going to be the way that we do trades this year. So 2 general managers get together and they propose a trade with each other, and they agree that this trade is what they want. So the trade doesn't automatically happen. It is a pending trade waiting for the commissioner to approve it. And here's why. We're basically doing a trading auction this year. It has been used in Matt's Meathead League, which is merging over with FSA this year. And I wanted to make sure that we took some elements from Matt's league over with us because he is merging with us. And this is one that I have played under the umbrella for about 3 or 4 years now. And it actually works. It is a necessity in his league because we have 20 players drafted from the same pool of NFL players. But here's essentially what happens. So I got Eric and Matt on with me right now. So let's say Eric and Matt decide to make a trade with each other. Doesn't automatically go through. After that trade has been proposed with each other, the trade gets put out on Discord in a chat channel that we will create for this. And it allows anybody else inside their region to try to do a counter trade with them, to try to sweeten that pot for either side. Doesn't necessarily mean that either one of those general managers have to take that sweetened pot. They can go with the original one. There is a time limit of when these things are going to happen. If the initial trade is made before noon on a day, it will process no later than 8 o'clock on that same day. If a trade is made after noon, it will process no later than noon the following day. Both of those time blocks aren't East Coast time. I want you to go out and read that block, which is the trades block. It's number 7. See if it makes sense to you. Please ask your questions after you read it. If you don't ask why we're live here on the show, you can always hit us up in Discord, hit us up on all of our social medias, hit us up on email as well. All right, so let's talk about the schedule and the playoffs. For those who have never played in a deluxe league before, which is what the FSA redraft is, it is a deluxe league. What that means is we've got a lot of teams playing under the same umbrella. Again, 72 teams this year, but it's going to be 6 regions of 12 teams each. So what happens is everybody's going to play everybody else inside the region one time for a total of 11 weeks. At the end of the 11 weeks, anybody who is 500 or above inside their region will make the regional playoffs. And what does that look like? Because there's 6 different regions, that could be a different number of teams across all of the regions. So you could have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. We have tried and tested this quite a few years now. It looks like those are the only numbers that we've come up with so far is 4 through 8. So teams 4 through 8 will play in a regional playoff. Each playoff will look different based on the number of teams that there are. If there are only 4 teams that come out above 500 in a particular region, they will actually be stale during week 12 when everybody else is playing the first round of the playoffs, because what I want everybody to reach the regional championship on the same week. Because anybody that is 5, 6, 7, or 8 takes 3 weeks to satisfy in a playoffs, and 4 teams only take 2 weeks, we will sit stale for 1 week. Playoffs will be weeks 12 through 14, and then the World Championship playoffs, which will consist of 6 teams, which will be the 6 regional champions, will start in week 15. 2 of those teams will receive a bye. They will be seeds 1 and 2, and then seeds 3 and 6 will play against each other, and 4 and 5 will play against each other. And we will break the ties by, you can see right there, it'll either come to win-loss record first, and if it still needs to be broken after that, it'll be by their power ranking, which we will use all year as a little novelty thing that we like to try to compare all of the teams against each other. Since it's 72 teams playing in 6 different groups, we will use this power ranking to give everybody a feel of where they're at in the entire league of 72 teams. For those that finish 500 and below, we are going to adopt something not so much really from the Meathead League, but because of who the Meathead League people are. The majority of those players, if not all of those players, are from Canada. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a secondary playoffs called the Grey Cup after the CFL. And so anybody who finishes below 500 is going to fall in that same boat of what we just said for anybody that's above 500, because it's a different number of teams. Each one of the playoffs will be a little bit different. And what they're doing is they're playing down to a championship. What are they playing for? They are actually playing for our first ever inaugural Grey Cup t-shirt. For winning that, we're going to have that designed and created, and then it will get sent to whoever it is that wins the Grey Cup. You will get the first ever inaugural Grey Cup t-shirt. What does the payout look like for this year? So $60 is the buy-in for the year. The payout for the world champion is $800, which is a little less than 14 times what your buy-in is. But on top of that, you are also getting a custom cornhole board and bags made by Nature Coast Tailgating, who is our title sponsor this year. We have had one full-size set of boards created for a world champion, along with another one that was purchased by Nature Coast Tailgating. I have my own set of boards that I also purchased from Nature Coast Tailgating. And then we also, in our first year of doing this, had a tabletop size cornhole boards done by Nature Coast Tailgating. They have come back on board with us again for this year and said that they would like to do another set of cornhole boards for us as part of the prize package for the World Championship. They retail for $400. These are custom boards and custom bags. I will work with you on what those boards and bags are going to look like. They will get produced and shipped directly to your house. $400 value, making your grand prize package for winning the World Championship this year $1,200 in value. $800 in cash, $400 in prizes. And then as you can see the rest of it as it's broken down in there based on the 72 members. FSA honors and the FSA honors in the Hall of Fame we won't go into, but is there for you to read. Want to make sure that you all got the opportunity to be able to see that while we were live. Ask any questions you might have while we're here live. If you don't have any questions now, go out and read. Hit us up on Discord. Ask any of your questions then. Again, maybe that one minor change, two minor changes. If MFL gets back to us and says that we can do a forced fumble with turnover, we will add that as a scoring option. Maybe expanding the roster size by a couple to 4-6 people. And then based on Matt's question, when are we going to be able to start seeing those on the MFL site? Tomorrow. I will get you all hooked up with those. Again, to reiterate, I'm going to also change on League Safe tomorrow. The date in which you need to sign up for is going to be 12 August. That is going to be the day prior to me doing all of the draft selection shows. That's going to be a fun day. All 6 shows with a 2-hour time block for each one of them. I know you all are hoping for a lot of snake eyes. I'm hoping for not a lot of snake eyes on that day because it makes for a long day for me when we have snake eyes. Something that you all are going to see on that day that I might as well tell you about now. Over the last couple of years that we've done this digitally online, we have used a particular program for the dice rolling that's on there. Unfortunately, that website doesn't exist anymore. I'm not sure why it went away. It was a great website. I don't know if people weren't using it, but I have found 2 or 3 alternatives that we will be able to use to roll the same style of dice, whether it's like a 12-sided dice or 2 6-sided dice, or whatever it is that we're going to use. I have found a couple alternates that are on there. IDP players are eligible for punt return touchdowns. Absolutely. It's one of the things that people wanted to make sure that we added on there. So if you know of somebody, like if you got a defensive back that you know is regularly returning punts and or kickoffs for a team, make sure you draft them and start them. That will give you an extra advantage. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud because I know what you were looking for on that. But yes, absolutely, that will happen. All touchdowns will count this year. Offensive fumble recoveries for touchdowns will also be a scoring category this year because we found out that it wasn't happening in the APFL for some reason. It's like a no-brainer to me. Why wouldn't that already be automatically in there? But we actually had it added as a extra category. So yes, that will be a thing, and I will make sure that gets added into all of the scoring and all of the eligibility and seeing of the IDPs tomorrow whenever I fix all of that stuff on MFL. You guys are asking great questions tonight. I appreciate you both. That's it. Unless Eric, Matt, or whoever else is out there tonight asks another question on the football side of the house, that's all we got for football right now. For those that care about the APPL, which is going to be the baseball league that we're going to start in 2024, please stick around and hear about that. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I knew that was going to be a thing for a lot of people. We needed to make sure that we had the like DBs that end up or safeties that end up doing kickoff and punt returns to make sure that they get their touchdowns. You know, we usually only have that for the special teams, and only the special teams get that. But the unfortunate part about that is, again, you have a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball that are getting those. And Or let's say you have a wide receiver that gets a touchdown. If that wide receiver doesn't play on your special teams team, you weren't getting those points. And I know that was it's kind of a bad mark or black eye or whatever on the scoring system. So we wanted to make sure that as we come back around with this new setup with IDPs and stuff like that, that was a thing. So APBL, what is that? That is the Alliance Professional Baseball League. As you all know, that we changed the Alliance Professional Fantasy League to Alliance Professional Football League in year 2 to make room for us being able to do the APBL in 2024. What is the APBL? So it is going to be a fantasy baseball league. We've only done baseball one other time in our history, but we wanted to make it a bigger thing in 2024 rather than just I think the 10 or 12 teams that we had in the first year that we had it. So the APBL is going to launch with 30 teams right out the gate. What are we going to do? It's going to be an emulation league, kind of like what the APFL is, except for we are not going to change logos and names. When we change the logos and the names for the APFL, really worried about copyright infringement. But for what I want to do with APBL, I'm saying it out loud. I'm going to roll with it and ask for forgiveness later on if somebody approaches us about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the 30 teams that are in the major league in year 1. At the end of year 1, the 15 teams that are at the top will stay in the major league level of APBL, and the bottom 15 will move down to the AAA level. And then we will be able to grab those 30 teams that are at the AAA level and bring them into the mold so we can introduce as many teams as we need to. And that will create, after year 1, a promotion and relegation thing, something that we've always wanted to do with football, but it makes most sense in baseball because you already have a system that's there between single A, double A, triple A, and the major levels. So we're going to introduce that in 2024. If you would like to jump on, what we are doing is we are doing early membership for it right now. Nothing needs to be paid. We just want a commitment out of 30 teams that say, yes, I want to play an APBL in 2024. And what team do you want to represent in the major league level of baseball? Right now, we have 6 members already committed. I've got a couple people coming up and saying messages over here on Discord. So let me pop up Discord over here and see what's going on over here, because it's definitely popping up. It says the Gray Cold Consolation Game should be renamed the Brown Bowl. You know what? Now that you brought that up, there might be something else that comes along with that. We have thought about, and we have done it in previous years. We've done trophies. We've done all kinds of different things on the redraft side of the house, what to give away for people. We've got this great set of cornhole boards with bags for the end of this season. Maybe on top of the t-shirt, maybe we can get us one of those little toilet bowl trophies or something like that to go along with it. And maybe we can call it the brown gray or the gray brown bowl or something like that. And we'll give not only the cool t-shirt that we're going to design, but we can give them the toilet trophy as well. That's a very good point. Appreciate you. So anybody who wants to play in the APBL, please let us know. If you're not already tracking, there is a channel on Discord for the APBL. If you're not a part of it but want to be, let us know. If you're still trying to decide, well, maybe I'm thinking about playing baseball, but I'm not really sure. I just kind of want to join the chat and see what it's all about before I make a commitment. Let us know. We'll throw you in the channel. That way you can ask all the questions and get in on the network that we've got there, the community that we've got there. And then if you want to play, we'll reach out to you at a later date. We wanted to do this in conjunction with the All-Star game, which was played, I think, at this point 8 days ago. We were just unable to get online in time to be able to do that. But we reached out and we had 6 people commit already. A couple of people are already playing in teams that they are not their favorite teams, but somebody already grabbed one. But it's going to be still super cool. One guy grabbed the Oakland Athletics because we know Oakland's probably going to move over to Las Vegas and they're going to probably change their colors and stuff like that. And he's all about it. He's ready for that neat new logo and that new color scheme. And that's why he's jumping on Oakland, even though he's a huge Atlanta Braves fan, because somebody already had Atlanta Braves. So if you want, let us know. Shoot us a message, however you know how to get a hold of us, and we'll throw you in the APBL chat as well. So we said at the top of the show that we had to say goodbye to one of our former sponsors. And it's not goodbye in a bad way. When we closed our doors in 2021 and we came back in 2022, we didn't have the same mindset that we had before. We needed to take a step back to try to get our feet grounded again before we decided to do a great big launch. And that meant that we weren't going to have the same number of sponsors that we had before and the level of sponsorships that we had before and stuff like that. We were almost kind of like starting over again, but with just a great, big, better pool of players to choose from as we decided to move this ball forward again. But for 2 years, we had this great sponsor called the Cranky Veteran Candle Company that supported us, and their owners, it was an Army veteran and his wife, both Ryan and Deb Bruin, that supported us, gave out candles to our winners of their bowl game that we had as we were doing bowl games inside our regions and stuff like that. And after the numerous years that they've ran this business, that they have decided that they're going to close up shop. And even though they weren't a sponsor of ours last year or coming into the 2023 seasons, we had up from 20 and 21, we wanted to thank them for being a sponsor for us. We couldn't have been where we were if we had not got them on board as a sponsor to be able to attract other sponsors in all of our regions. So we want to say thank you and really say, hey, we appreciate you for believing in us and coming on board like you guys did. We're super excited for you in your next chapter in life or whatever it is that you two decide to do. But we could not do our next show after we found out that you all were closing shop without saying thank you. With the new kick rule, return touchdowns are going to be a thing of the past. You're absolutely right about that. Anytime you're going to be able to do a touchback and the ball is going to come out, there's probably not going to be very many of them. Probably more than likely going to be focused on those that are going to be doing your punt returns. Probably the craziest of times to actually say your DBs and your safeties touchdowns are going to now count for the individual players, even for your wide receivers, because it was only a special teams thing before with that rule change. But we'll see. You'll never know. You'll have that one time it'll happen. You'll have that player. You'll get that touchdown. That 6 points will be the difference if you winning or losing a game. It'll be super awesome whenever it does happen because we haven't had it in our rule set other than the very 1 year that I think we did IDPs. Those were back in the days we were on Yahoo. I'd have to go back through our physical actual records, paper records to figure out what year it was that we did that. And I think we only ended up doing it with 3 or 4 players. So this is going to be a massive change for us as we're doing this in 2023. I'm looking forward to it. I've played with IDPs in Matt's league for 4 years now. I think my first year with him was 2018 and with the auction trade rules as well. It's going to be really cool to introduce that into FSA, something that we've been doing at this point. We've been alive for 30 years. I'm glad you said that too, Matt. Matt said his IDP is the way to go. We had a hard time convincing Eric with this new auction trade thing to get him on board with the league for 2023. But the minute that I told him we were doing IDP, he was all about it. So it makes me feel good that I know you guys are seasoned fantasy football players and you're excited about IDP coming to fantasy football, same as I am. So I know it's the right thing to do. I really do think this is going to be cool for those that have never done it before. You got to give it a chance. Again, I've been doing it since 2018 with Matt's league. Not being an IDP guy, didn't put a lot of faith in it in the first couple of years, but when I realized how important it is to your team and how much it can affect your team, and I put a lot of faith in it in the last 2 years, you can see the difference in my standings and me making playoffs and how far I went over the last couple of years. It's a lot of fun. For those guys that really follow football in general, and their forte is the defensive side of the ball because maybe you grew up playing high school or college ball and you were on the defensive side of the ball, so that's where you relate to. This will be for you then as well. 7 offensive players, 7 defensive players, and 1 kicker. So this is going to be an awesome year for us. Plus, we're growing to 72 teams. That's awesome. We're going from 48 to 72 in 1 year after having a hiatus in 2021, coming back in 2022. To be able to get 72 teams in makes me super excited as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's pretty much it for everything that we said at the beginning of the show. We wanted to make sure we talked about the redraft stuff. We wanted to make sure we talked about the APBL, and we wanted to make sure that we talked about our former sponsor, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, and bidding them a good farewell and hope that they step into the next part of their lives and are very successful in it, just as they were with Cranky Veteran Candle Company. I got one more thing I want to put out. I know there's only like probably 3 of you that are out there watching. I think Eric might still be out there. Matt still might be out there. Paul, I think you're out there as well because you're messaging me over here on Discord right now. One other thing that I wanted to put out there, and this is more on a personal level, so everybody knows what's going on, because I think I've hinted on this on Discord a lot, but probably not enough for everybody to catch on what's going on with me. For those of you that know, I am active duty Army, United States Army military. I was actually supposed to be retiring in 12 days from today. The 31st of July was supposed to be my last day in the Army. Something happened last October that forced me to go see a doctor. And during those numerous doctor visits from October to, we'll say, late January, early February timeframe, we found out that I have a faulty mitral valve in my heart, which is a valve that controls the blood flow between the two sides, your two ventricles, your left and right ventricle, to the point where it's faulty enough that the left side of my heart has grown 1.5 times size more than it should be. Unbeknownst to me, on November 23rd, while I was sitting here working on graphics for you all for another league idea that I had, which was for a Tecmo Bowl themed league, on that day, sitting here doing graphics, I had a heart attack and did not know it. Didn't know it until we went back and reviewed the heart monitor that I was wearing at that time to show that I had a heart attack, because I was sitting relaxed, comfortable, doing the stuff that I love. Nobody even knew that I had this heart attack. All of this, with numerous tests and stuff like that, have led to the decision with second opinions that I need to have open heart surgery to repair that faulty valve in the heart. They're going to try to repair versus replace first, and we finally got that scheduled. That is going to be on August 25th. That is the reason why we have moved the draft selection shows to the 13th and why we have moved the drafts to the 19th and 20th. We actually wanted to have them a week later with the draft selection shows on the 19th and the 20th, and then the drafts themselves. I think that ends up, I have to do the math now. If it's on the 19th, add 7, that's 26. On the 26th and 27th of August. Not going to be able to do that because regardless of what type of surgery they end up having to perform on me, I will definitely still be in a hospital in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where the surgery is going to get done. For those of you that don't know, I'm in Augusta, Georgia. It's about a 3.5 hour drive from here to there. So appreciate you guys. Thank you. I didn't want to come on here and be Debbie Downer. I appreciate that. That will be the last great memory I have, right, before I go into to surgery, is remembering snake eyes, snake eyes, snake eyes. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew what was going on and why we had the shift in the schedule and stuff like that. So to get in a little bit more in the weeds for those that are still out there watching or might watch this later, I have at least shown good signs of, through all of these tests, that I will be able to do minimally invasive open heart surgery, which means that they're going to come inside my right armpit and they're going to go across the chest, and they're going to do this with a little robot and stuff like that to be able to go in and do it. A couple things that might change that will be, the doctor basically said, if my lung doesn't move out of the way, he will have to change what he was going to do, crack the sternum and do it that way. If for some reason he is unable to repair while he's in there, he's going to do a replace, but he's going to replace with a mechanical valve, which is good news because then I won't have to go back in 10 or 15 years to have this done again. So I appreciate all of the good thoughts and prayers. I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared a little bit. But the good thing is, from the Army side, we have been working since May to try to get my retirement pushed to the right an additional 6 months, because the cardiologist would like me to have this surgery and recovery done while I'm still on active duty. And as of today, I was granted that extension for the 6 month. So everything will be taken care of family-wise on this side, and we will be good to go for recovery after the fact. If they are able to do the minimally invasive in through the armpit, we're talking 2 to 3 days in a hospital and 1 to 2 weeks recovery when I'm getting home. That's amazing to me. If for some reason they can't do that, the lung won't move out of the way, and they have to crack the sternum, we're talking 6 to 8 days in the hospital, 6 to 8 weeks recovery. I won't be able to drive, but hopefully I'll be able to do this with my hands. That way we can still have a season this year. We're going to have a season no matter what. We're going to figure it out. Nothing's going to stop us from having a 2023 season. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what was going on with me, in case you hadn't been able to. Eric says we'll never retire. Man, I promise you, I was looking forward to retirement. I even have a plaque outside in the hallway right on the other side of this wall that has the date of July 31st, 2023 on it. But you're right. I probably won't ever retire. Like after I get done with the surgery, I got to look probably for another job, even if I'm a Walmart greeter for the next 10 years or something like that. I at least got to get 10 more years in before we call it quits. But there, y'all know the whole skinny now. So if you see me mention something on Discord about it, or upcoming surgeries or appointments or whatever, that's what I'm always talking about. I'm always talking about this possibility, and now guaranteed open heart surgery on the 25th of August. So that's it. We're going to end it on that note. We will be back next Wednesday as we close in on the Hall of Fame game, and as we're getting closer and closer to getting those memberships done. I just got another message off to the side from Carl saying he might have one more for us, so we might be down to just needing 5 more people. If you know of anybody, coworkers, family, friends that you would like to join in on this league, and you know that they are good people, send them our way. All I need is a guarantee from you that you'll vouch from their good people. I need a first and a last name. I need to know where they live so we can get them in the right region, and I need a good email address for them so I can put them in the correct region as we're doing our region stuff. So we will be back on the 26th of July, next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. East Coast time. Got to thank our sponsors. Had a quick conversation with Mondo and the boys from the Recast today on Facebook. Him and I are going to get together and do a live chat here sometime soon, because we need to catch up with each other, because we haven't seen each other in person in 4 years, I think, now at this point. So him and I got to do a catch up. They are the Recast. They are the official music of the FSA. And thank you to Brandon Valenka of Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, who is the official apparel of FSA. And thank you all, Eric, Matt, Paul, thank you all for asking great questions tonight. Anybody else who might be watching out there, of the 3 that stayed on pretty much most of the night for me. Thank you for watching the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel. If you like the show, make sure you go out and follow us on all of our social media outlets. You can find us at iPlayFSA. And then also, if you're not already following this channel, make sure that you follow us here. Subscribe, I think is what it's called on YouTube. Subscribe to us. And then you all have a great night. 9:18, 48.5 minute show. Good show. And we will see you all next week. You all have a great evening.